Alright, so just as we mentioned in the previous video, I talked about the button, the push button, and how the push button can be used to give values in such a way that you can give a high and a low. So we said that we will, so I showed you the connections of the button in the previous video, and also we connected the button input that that to the Raspberry Pi. We connected it to pin number, if you remember, board numbering pin number 11. So let's see how to read an input from the button. Let's open a new file. I'll just maximize this and I will save this as of course over here. Let me say button input. Okay, so I'll save this as button input, and let's go on to how to take an input from the button. So again, I need to use the same library, hence I need to import the rpi.gpio library as GPIO, and we're going to, of course, if required, we will from time we will import sleep. So if that is required, and we need to also say that we are going to use the board numbering, so we need to say gpio.setMode. We need to say I'm going to use the board numbering. Then I need to say the pin that I'm going to use, that is pin number, what is the pin number that we said? I think pin number 11. That pin number was going to be used as an input pin because the button is going to give an input to the Raspberry Pi, right? It's an input sensor. So it's going to be an input. So I had said that you can say gpio.in, and after getting an input, so that is, we just declared that pin is an input pin. We have not yet got an input from there. We need to keep reading the input. Again and again, we need to keep reading the input because the button can be pressed, the button cannot be pressed, and so on. So let me just put a while true, and let me read the input of the button. So how do I do an input? I use the function called as input, just as we had output if you want to output. But here, when you do an input, you need to say which pin, of course, pin number 11. And whatever input comes from there, I need to store it in a variable. Yes or no? I need to store it in a variable. Let me say button, right? I'll just say button is equal to gpio.input 11. So I'm going to get this particular value of the button in button. And of course, for now, let me just print the value of the button and let me see if my output is fine. So I'm going to run this. I hope you have already connected. See, when the button is not pressed, it is 0. And the minute I press it, the value is 1. Can you see that? The minute I leave it, it is 0. The minute I press the button, it's 1. I leave it 0. When I press it, it's 1. Leave it 0. Press it, it's 1. So it's reading the value of the button continuously again and again when I do a GPIO.input, right? So now, can I do a particular task? Okay, so I want to do a particular task where I want to control the LED based on my button input, which means when my button is pressed, I want the LED to glow. When my button, so where is my LED connected, by the way? My LED is connected, if you remember, sorry, in blinking.py, my LED is connected on pin number 7. So on 7, my pin LED is connected. So I need to also say gpio.setup. I need to say pin number 7. I want to use that as an output pin itself. I don't want to use that as an input pin. That is an output pin. But when my button is pressed, now when my button is pressed, how will I put a condition? If my button is pressed, so if button equal to what? Equal to 1, because it was 1 when it is pressed, and when it is not pressed, it was 0. If it is 1, what should I do? I should give an output to this LED. I should give an output to this LED that is a high. I should say gpio.output. I should say gpio.output. I need to say high. How will I say, but which particular pin? Pin number 7, I need to give a high, which means that is true. So when the button is pressed. But when the button is not pressed, so I need to say an else. Else, if the button is not pressed, I need to say gpio.output. What will I say? Pin number 7, I should have it as false. Is that clear? All right, so I run this out. Of course, I need to get my output on. So we'll see the output, what exactly is happening. So I'm pressing the button, it is 1. When I leave the button, it is 0. Let's see the output on the Raspberry Pi in the next video. Okay, so we just programmed it. The button which is connected here is connected to pin number 11, and the LED is connected to pin number 7. And we programmed that when the button is going to be pressed, the LED is going to be on, and when the button is not pressed, the LED is going to be off. So exactly in that particular fashion that we have already programmed. Let's see if the output comes. Yes, we press the button, it's on. We leave the button, it's off. Press it again, it's on. Leave it, it's off. Press it again, on. So that's how the button is worked. Now I want to program in such a way that it should work as a switch, which means when I press it, it should become on and it should remain on. And then when I press it again, it should become off. So you know how a switch works, right? So if I press the light on, if I press a switch, it should remain on. And then when I press it again, it should remain off. Now I want to program it that way. How do I program it on my Raspberry Pi in that particular fashion? Yes. All right. So that's what we need to figure out. We'll figure that out and we'll do that program in the next video.